Hi everyone, it's Trishna. So welcome to another live video. Happy Monday evening. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to shatter our beliefs around how we see problems. In my last video, we talked about how to shatter our beliefs or how to shatter the illusion that we live in, whether it's the physical world, whether it's events, whether it's our own personal belief systems. And today we're going to talk about how to shatter problems in the way that we see them. So a little bit like the last video, I received some scattered notes, but I've got a little bit more flow, so I think we can handle it. So before I get started, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and say hi in the comments. If you're on replay, say hi as well. I'm gonna come back and respond to all of them and say hi back. So while you're doing that, let me explain a little bit more about problems. So whenever we have a problem going on in our life, whether it's a big one, whether it's a small one, whether it's just one problem or a bunch of problems, we tend to look at problems as problems. We see them as a nuisance. And a lot of times our first intention or like our first path forward is we want to just squash that problem as quickly as possible so we don't have to deal with it anymore and we can go back to life as it was before this problem showed up. And sometimes, if life really isn't going well for us, if it's like problem after problem is just coming into our lives, it's like we're just being showered with it. Sometimes we might even look to the universe, we might even look to God and say, like, God has picked me. Like, why have you picked me to shit on? Why have you decided to rain all this terribleness on me? Why did you single me out? And so we're going to talk a little bit about this because the first thing to note is if you're in one of those situations, God doesn't pick favorites. The universe doesn't pick favorites. And that means that the universe doesn't pick people that it dislikes the most either, like the anti-favorite. So one way that we often think about problems is, or like one positive way that we often think about problems, because we normally see it as a nuisance, but then there's this kind of mentality out there of seeing problems as opportunities. And I think that's definitely a good way to approach it. And there's another mentality out there of seeing problems as a reflection of ourselves. And what does that problem have to share with us? What is it showing us? What issue is it showing us that is actually within ourselves that we didn't know beforehand? What is being reflected out of us? How is the world mirroring our deeper issues or some of our deeper blocks that we want to release? And I think both of those are definitely very, very valid. But I also want to think about problems a little bit differently. I want to think about problems in terms of change. So in the last video, we talked about the tower card, and we talked about how the tower card, on its very surface level meaning, basically means that everything in your world comes crumbling down. It's very sudden, it's sometimes a little bit traumatic, it's very sudden, and it's very big. Our world just shatters around us. But then we also talked about one of the underlying meanings of what the tower card represents, which is everything, yeah, everything just shattered around you. But it shattered around you because there was a faulty foundation. Now, another meaning that goes along with that is sometimes we receive the tower card because the universe says, you deserve something better. Something better is meant for you, but it requires that you change. And I, the universe, have given you many opportunities to change on your own terms, and you didn't take it. But I, as a universe, I love you and I adore you, and you decided not to take any of the opportunities that I gave you to do it on your terms. So I'm going to create this tower moment. I'm going to shatter your world so that you are forced to change, so that you can receive the life that you really deserve, so you can receive the better that is on the other side of that change. And so that's how I want us to think about problems going forward. That's one of the ways. There's another way that I want us to think about problems as well. But to really see it as not just an opportunity, but an opportunity for change, because I think change is the underlying factor there. Because when we see a problem, the reason why we want to squash it and go back to the way things were before the problem arrived is because we don't always want to go through change. We don't always want to live through change. We don't always want to make the changes that are necessary. And problems force us to change. But the change can be so empowering, and it's a gift from the universe. It's not the universe raining down on your parade. It's the universe giving you an opportunity to go after something better, to want something more, to make the changes that you need to make in order to live the life of your dreams. So we talked a little bit about different ways to see problems. We've seen it as opportunities. We have looked at it as reflections. What is the outside world trying to tell me about some internal shifts that I need to be making or some internal patterns of thought that maybe no longer serve me? And we've talked about it in terms of change and how problems just represent, they're just a sign of change needing to be made so that we can have better. So let's talk about one more way to look at problems. Problems, everything in the universe is worthy. Everything in the universe that is here is supposed to be here. If it wasn't supposed to be here, it wouldn't exist. And that means problems. Problems as well. If everything else is supposed to exist here, so are problems. And again, the universe doesn't play favorites. It doesn't say problems, you're the least favorite, and good things, you are my favorite. The universe just doesn't play favorites. So problems have just as much of a reason and just as much worthiness to be able to be here in our reality. And we look at it as this nuisance instead of really honoring it for being in our lives, for representing the opportunity or bringing about that change or showing us an aspect of ourselves. So I think it's really important that we honor problems as well. So I'm going to give you kind of a strange example here. So I don't do a lot of spirit work, like working with people who have passed on or animals who have passed on. But every once in a while, like a spirit will make its way to me, and I've had a few interesting experiences with this. So I remember one time when I was living at my parents' house, and I was just in my bedroom, and all of a sudden I sensed this spirit in my house actually coming into my bedroom. And I'd never experienced that before. I had lived in that house for 22 years, and around the time that this story that I'm telling you happened was probably, I've been living at that house for 15 years. So I'd never really felt like a presence in the house before. And the presence felt strange, a little bit off, kind of scared me just a little bit. But I decided to honor this being that was deciding to be in my presence, and I just asked it who it was, what was going on. And I soon discovered that it was actually somebody that I knew that had passed away, but it was like this garbled energy, I guess. And that scared me even more because I thought, oh my goodness, this person was a really good person. Why are they here still? Why is their energy still here, and why is it so in pain? And after I started just conversing with the spirit, I just really honored it for being here and honored it for feeling what it was feeling, and I asked how I could help it. And then it gave me some guidance, and I was able to kind of clear it and release that spirit. And I think that that's just a really important way to look at our problems as well, because I've known other people, or I've seen other people talk about how they've dealt with spirits. If they maybe went to a haunted hotel and they say, oh, I just obliterated them, and like I sent them back down to the ground or something like that, and there's just like this very negative energy as if this problem is something that doesn't deserve to be here. Whereas my approach is ask why they're here, try to honor their presence, try to understand what they need. And when you honor them, a lot of times that's all that you need in order to kind of let a spirit go. And that's kind of the same with problems as well. Not always, like a lot of times there's a little more action involved, but when we honor the problems that we have in our lives, when we give it the space that it deserves, when we don't try to shun it or push it into a box or squash it and go back to our lives as it was, when we honor it for the gift that it brings us, which is that gift of change, so that we can have the things that we really want on the other side of that change, when we really honor it and we work with it instead of against it, so many magical things can happen for our lives. So here's a few takeaways for this. And then I'm going to have one more way actually of thinking about problems that is super powerful. This is my most favorite way, and we're going to kind of close it with that. But off of the ways that we've talked about. So first we talked about how problems represent opportunities. We hear that all the time. There's lots of quotes about it. So whenever you have a problem in your life, ask yourself first, what is the opportunity here? How can I turn this problem into a solution? How can I turn this problem into something that can make my life better? The next thing that we talked about was reflection. Problems sometimes represent or reflecting to us what's going on internally that we're not aware of. So ask the problem, what are you trying to make me aware of? What is this problem trying to reflect in me? What internal changes do I need to make in my life? And then we talked about changes and how problems represent change. So ask like, what change do you need in your life? Maybe not just internally, but also externally. I say the Tower card a lot in like love readings because I've done a lot of love readings on my channel. And so a lot of times you're with a partner who isn't really right for you, and that's the faulty foundation. Or a lot of times you're with the right partner, but there's some kind of communication issue that happened in the beginning that needs to be resolved, and that creates the faulty foundation. So, what changes need to be made in whatever area of your life the problem is occurring or your life is starting to crumble? What changes need to be made there? And then we talked about worthiness. How can we honor the problems? How can we really respect them? And if you're asking all these questions whenever you have a problem, you're automatically honoring it. And just at the same time understand like, hey, I know that this is difficult, but change isn't easy. Change is necessary though. The universe thrives on change, it thrives on growth. And so when the universe gives me a problem, it gives me an opportunity for change. And when I work with that change, because the universe likes change and thrives off of change, when I work with the change and I give it an opportunity to allow me to change with it, I am in the flow of the universe. Whenever we have a problem in our lives and we're trying to work with it and trying to honor it, we're actually working with the universe. We're working with the flow of the universe. We're going in the same direction that the universe wants us to go in. And you want to go in the flow of the big cosmic forces that are around us. It's kind of like the stock market. You want to, for the most part, go with the trend, especially if it's at the beginning, and go with the trend. You don't want to go against the trend. Again, that's like very watered down investing, and I'm not like a pro investor or anything. I don't do a lot of it, but there is the whole trend thing where especially for at the beginning, you want to go with the trend and not against it because then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, so let's talk about the final way to think about a problem. Okay, when we have a problem in our lives, it is actually an opportunity for us to be grateful for our lives and for that problem itself. Problems sometimes are a reflection of what we need to change within us, but a lot of times they're actually an indicator of the blessings that we actually have in our lives. So, for example, if you are fighting with your spouse and fights with your spouse, it hurts, or a significant other, it hurts, it tears you up inside. um, you can experience the greatest love with your significant other, but you can also experience the greatest pain when things aren't really going well. But when you're in a fight with your partner, you can be grateful for something. If you're like, what? Like, I'm in the middle of a fight right now. I have nothing to be grateful for. Things aren't working out. I feel sad. I'm also angry for XYZ. The thing to be grateful for is the fact that you have your significant other in your life to be able to fight with. Because if you didn't have them, if you didn't have the fight, and if you didn't have them and the fight, that would be a lot worse than having them and being able to fight with them because they are actually are here in your life to fight with. So that is a blessing that's there. If they do something annoying, if your partner does something annoying, be grateful that they're in your life able to do things that annoy you, that they're here in your life and you get to enjoy them plus the annoying things that they do. So every problem gives us an opportunity to find something to be grateful for and to really realize the blessings that we have in our lives. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that this gives you a few different ways to look at problems and really be able to honor them and see how they're actually a blessing in so many different ways because they show you the blessings you have right now. The blessings that you have right now are giving you the chance to have a problem, and the problems are reflecting the fact that you have this blessing. And then they also give you an opportunity for change to bring in even more blessings into your life, to improve things, to talk things through, to change your process to something that's much more efficient and much better. Here's an example. I was doing some lives a few months ago. Yeah, a few months ago. And the first one worked all right. I was working off of an old computer that I had, and it worked okay. The audio wasn't super great, but it was fine. And then all of a sudden, when I started doing my lives, like the audio was so bad, I couldn't fix it. It was garbled, it was choppy, it was terrible. And it was a little bit frustrating because I filmed the same video twice. And the way that I felt like when I was done, I was like, wow, I actually, that was a great video that I made. Like, I feel like I really expressed myself and I was very clear and very concise and everything like that. And when I went back to make sure everything was okay, it was not okay. And I tried so many different ways to fix it. And that's a problem. But also, I really needed a new computer. It was about time, and it was a chance for me to finally decide to go out and research different laptops and purchase one, which is what I'm working on now. I actually needed a new laptop years ago, but sometimes you need that push. You know, the universe is just like, you really could do better. You could have better. Gave you lots of opportunities to fix it, Trishna. Your brightness has been my brightness on my old laptop got so bad. Like it would always be on the full level, and if I would try to decrease it, like it would just jump right back up. And I've had lots of people try to fix it, and it just didn't work, and my eyes would just burn out. And that was one. And then one of my keys started popping off, and like just it was time for a change 3 years ago. But better late than never. So whenever we have opportunity problems, they give us an opportunity to change so we can have better, and it pushes us to do that so that we can experience better, because life isn't about stagnation. And that's something that we'll talk about in another video. I actually received like two things to share with you. I just shared the first one, and then the next one is about stagnation and all that. But this video is already probably getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna end it there. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. If it was, be sure to join me in my Facebook group, where we talk about conversations. We have a lot more conversations like this. And also stay tuned, because I'm thinking in January I'm going to be launching a mystery school of sorts. It'll be about 4 weeks long, and I will explain more as we get closer. But that's the time frame that I'm thinking of, is January 2021. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.